Hey everyone, and welcome to the video. If you've been playing the new Techrot Encore update and want to know where each Coda Weapon stands, then I will hopefully help you with that. Now, you may have noticed the video title says Week 1 Tier List. That is because there are only 7 weapons released this week. I'm assuming they are rotating in the rest of the weapons next week. If that's the case, I'll make a follow-up video to this, and then I'll have the full tier list with all 14 weapons at the end of that video. Now, before we start, I will be judging these weapons based on how good they are and how fun they are to use if I were to normally use them. I'm not going to sit in the simulacrum and test them with 0 buffs because nobody actually plays the game like that. Alright, so let's start off with the Coda Sporothrix. I'm going to show you the build I'm running, and then I'm going to go into some gameplay and share my thoughts on the weapon, and then give the tier list rating at the end. So, the build I'm running for the Coda Sporothrix is running Volatile Variant and a Riven. You do not need the Riven. Let me get that out of the way right now. You do not need a Riven. You can just put Hammer Shot in place of the Riven, and you're completely fine. This Riven doesn't really do anything. It just gives cold and multi-shot. Hammer Shot does basically the same thing. So you don't need the Riven. Volatile Variant, I would say you do need if you want to have fun with the weapon, because it gives so much. It gives 3 punch through. It gives exploding instantly. It gives triple AoE free explosions and 50% status chance. It does so much in such a little mod that I think it is mandatory if you want to have fun with the weapon. The rest of the build is it's a blast build running Elementalist and then crit, because I am running Trinity with Arcane Avenger, as you can see here. So it's giving it a 50% crit chance, so half of my shots will be taking advantage of that crit damage. This is also, I don't even think this is my Trinity build, by the way. Shout out to whoever made this build. I just stole it from, if you can figure it out. Yeah, let's go into some gameplay. So the Coda Sporothrix is an absolute blast to use, pun intended. You basically are using an explosive round sniper rifle. You shoot like one guy, and then everything else around him explodes. You see a line of dudes, you shoot through all of them, explosions happen every single time it pierces through each of them, and then everything chain explodes. It's really fun. I also love seeing the casual like million damage blast procs everywhere, because monkey brain love big number. But seriously, this weapon is an absolute joy to use, especially for someone like me who loves AoE and explosive weapons. I'm gonna put this in A tier because of the one downside it has, the fact that it has a 5% crit chance, so you're kind of forced to play Arcane Avenger or Hero or someone that uses Worthy Camaraderie, I guess. Basically any way you can get the flat crit onto the weapon so you can actually take advantage of the 3 times base crit multi, you're basically forced to use one of those sources. But yeah, I would definitely grab the Coda Sporothrix this week, especially since it's a 54% roll in the shop, and especially if you happen to be a Hero main. Alright, so next up is the Coda Hema. I'm running a Corrosive Heat build. The reason I'm running Corrosive is because it already has Viral, so you get Corrosive Heat and Viral at the same time. I am running Galvanized Chamber and Aptitude for your multi-shot and base damage, Prime Shed for fire rate and punch through, and then crit. The reason I'm running crit is because the Coda Hema has 20% crit chance over the 11 of the base Hema, which actually makes crit at least a very bit viable. To enhance this, I am going to run Trinity again with Arcane Avenger, giving another 45% crit chance, so I can hit all yellow crits. And then Primary Merciless for the Arcane for some more base damage. Let's get into some gameplay. The Coda Hema. I guess I can start by saying I'm a bit disappointed. As you can see in the gameplay, it's not bad. The damage is pretty good. The clear is like alright, but I'm disappointed that it's not better. There's nothing really to differentiate it from the regular Hema other than the fact that it has better stats. The unique trait is the exact same. It still fires the exact same. There's nothing special about it. It's literally just a burst fire assault rifle. There's nothing really infested about it other than the fact that it just takes your HP as ammo. That's literally it. Like, I guess if you want a generic assault rifle that has innate viral damage, then sure, the Coda Hema is here for you. But other than that, it's just such a boring weapon. I'm gonna put it in C tier just because it's like the definition of average. It's not a bad weapon, but it does nothing to stand out, and you know, it doesn't give me a reason to want to use it. Alright, on to the secondaries. Let's start off with the Coda Catabolyst. So this is a secondary beam weapon. I'm running your normal generic beam weapon build: Galvanized Sharp, Prime Target Cracker, Innervate, Lethal Torrent, Galvanized Fusion, Viral, and then I'm running electric instead of heat because it came with electric, and that's basically forcing me to use electric. And I didn't want to use the elemental vice to switch it to heat. It's basically the same thing anyway. So Viral Electric with critical mutation. This basically just gives me 300% crit damage. It also gives crit chance, but the base crit chance is so low, and I have Innervate that 300% crit chance doesn't really end up mattering that much. I mean, it gives me like another 20 order crit chance, so it's not nothing, but like it's not as good as the crit damage from the mod. So that's the only thing special about this build, really. Otherwise, it's just standard beam weapon. I've also decided I'm just gonna play Trinity for the gameplay every time, just for consistency's sake. At least for the guns. You'll see when I get to the melee. Alright, here we go. Coda Catabolyst. I thought I was disappointed with the Coda Hema. This left me even more disappointed. So let me give you a quick rundown of what the gun does. It is a secondary beam weapon that when you run out of your magazine, you reload and throw a volley of 3 grenades. They explode, and then you go about your business and repeat. So what's the problem with the weapon? It doesn't chain. You know those secondary beam weapons from the Kuva Liches and Sisters of Parvos called the Kuva Encore and the Tenet Cyclone? Those beam weapons? Yeah, guess what? They chain. What does this one do? It doesn't chain. I thought that this would be the Infested Lich version of the Kuva Encore and the Tenet Cyclone. Instead, it's whatever this abomination is. I will give one thing to this weapon. It does have a 0.7 meter blast radius around where the beam impacts, but it's not affected by multi-shot apparently, according to the wiki. So yeah, say goodbye to that. And I'm also pretty sure the Kuva Encore has that exact same thing. Anyway, they could have just, like, if not 6 chains or whatever, they could have just made it chain to like 2 or 3 enemies. That would have been at least something, but no chain, no punch through, nothing. Like, the Kuva Encore is both more fun to use and a better gun than the Coda Catabolyst. You gotta give me at least some reason to use this over the Kuva Encore. And no, the little grenade volley on reload is not a reason to use it. And for those reasons, I have to put this in D tier. Quite a big disappointment in my book. Alright, up next we have the Coda Pox. I am running a Viral Heat Elementalist build with Innervate, Target Cracker, Lethal Torrent, Hornet Strike, and Galvanized Diffusion. Very cookie cutter stuff. Focusing a bit on the heat procs. You'll see why when I show you the gameplay. Speaking of the gameplay, let's go over there. Alright, the Coda Pox. I don't really know where to begin on this weapon. It doesn't really feel like there's a point to this weapon existing other than if you like to slowly watch your enemies die, I guess. Like, am I missing something with this weapon? Am I building it wrong? Am I just stupid? Like, this weapon is basically just, you throw an infested little booger out and it explodes into a little status cloud that ticks damage and inflicts statuses every tick. That's what the weapon does, but it kills so slowly, there's no point. If you want an AoE nuking weapon, just use the Icarius Prime. If you want a primer, just use the Epitaph. Like, I don't know what the point of this weapon is. Like, if you know some secret tech that I don't, that will make this weapon actually, like, fun and a good weapon to use, let me know in the comments, because I'm stumped, brother. I'm putting this weapon in D tier. The only thing keeping it out of F is the fact that it can do the job at the bare minimum. Alright, and onto the last secondary, we have the dual Coda Torxica. It has a unique trait where it basically drops spores on death that inflict cold status chance, and enemies affected by those cold spores will take 1.5 times more damage from this gun. I'm running a Innervate build, surprise surprise. I'm a fan of secondary Innervate, what can I say? I've got the Galvanized Shot, Galvanized Fusion, Merciless Gunfight for punch through and a bit of crit damage, and then Viral Heat, and then Lethal Torrent. Pretty standard build. Let's go on to the gameplay. So the dual Coda Torzicas are a bit more average than I thought they would be at first, because at the end of the day, they're really just some dual machine pistols. If you like the concept of dual machine pistols, and you like the concept of just mulching everything that's on your crosshair, then this is a pretty good pick. But other than that, it doesn't really stand out. Despite the unique trait with the little like cold spores, I didn't really feel like they were doing anything. They just kind of like were there in the background. I mean, they give you 1.5 times damage, but I don't know, that's really all it really does. I think this is going to be either a very low B or a C tier. I think I'm going to go C because the unique trait isn't really that unique. Alright, on to the melees. We have the Coda Mire. It has a unique trait apparently where slam attacks apply toxin status effect. So that made me try out a slam influence build on Clervo. It was good as any slam build would be, but the problem is you compare it to the Magistar or the Sampates or the Archititron, it's just nothing compared to those. So there's not really any reason to use it as a slam build. But I'm not really going to get into slams here. That's for another day. So I decided to do a regular light attack spam melee influence build with Volt. Volt's running Shock Trooper. That's where I get my electric from, the proc influence. The rest of the build is pretty cookie cutter, you know, Blood Rush, Weeping Wounds, Galvanized Steel, Galvanized Elementalist, Reach, Berserker Fury, Visual Blood, Prime Fury Strike. All the necessities for a good light attack build. Let's get on to the gameplay. The Coda Mire. A very simple but very effective weapon. It has an abnormally high status chance at 40 base, so it makes it a perfect candidate for melee influence builds. As you can see on the screen here, it is quite easily just mulching through everything in its path. If you do want to run melee influence on this weapon, which I highly recommend, you do have to run a Shock Trooper build because it has base toxin damage, and you would otherwise have to go through this headache of putting on different combinations of mods just to get electric damage on the weapon. So I would save yourself the trouble and run a Shock Trooper build. Oh, I'm also running Raffle Advance on the Volt build you see in the video. That's how I'm getting red crits, because the base crit of the Mire is 18%, which is not that great. Just thought I'd point that out. I'm going to put the Coda Mire in B tier. It's a good weapon, but it's very generic, and, well, the dual Icar exists. Just use those. Alright, and on to the Coda Motovore, the last weapon of the day. This weapon is very, very interesting. It has a unique trait, receives 6 times physical damage from mods, and a different bonus based on the prevalent physical damage type. Impact has plus 40 attack speed, Puncture has plus 1.5 range, and Slash has plus 100% status chance. So basically how that calculates it is it's the status weighting of your physical damage. Whichever is the highest, it will give you that listed bonus. And it also, like, for example, if you put on Auger Strike, it says plus 720% puncture. That means yeah, you get a shit ton of puncture, which leads into melee Dottie, which gives you 10%, or it gives you 1 times crit multi per 10% puncture status of your weapon. The puncture status, ignore these numbers down here. It says 22%. That's before Weeping Wounds and or is it? Was it just Weeping Wounds? I think I just had Weeping Wounds on. Or did I have something else? Okay, so on the default, so on the slam build I just have Weeping Wounds. On the default I have Elementalist, but I think I calculated it to around like 70% puncture with Weeping Wounds. I might be wrong, but you're getting like 7 times crit multi with speccing into puncture from Auger Strike. So I first tried, of course, a slam build, because why not? It's a hammer, why not slam? It has a 10 meter slam radius, which is okay, I guess. I tried it, and guess what? It's just worse than the Magistar. So I went on to do a regular Dottie build and a regular influence build. I'm not sure which one I want to show off on the gameplay. I already showed off an influence build, so I guess I could show off the Dottie build. Assuming it works on Volt. I don't know if it works on Volt, but I guess we'll see. This is the melee Dottie, default light attack build. It has a, it's just it's the same thing as the Mire build basically, but with Auger Strike in instead of Prime Fury Strike. Other than that, it's the exact same thing. So let's get into the gameplay. So the Coda Motovore, while it has a very, very unique trait, I don't think the trait is as good as a lot of people think it is. So you might look at the trait and be like, oh, if you put slash mods on, you get 6 times the effect of the slash mod, and you get another 100% status chance. That's going to allow you to do a slash build that just kills everything, right? But like, here's the thing. Slash mods don't increase your slash proc damage. And the best status builds on melee are elemental status builds anyway, because melee influence exists. And what about impact? I don't think I have to say anything about impact. Nobody's playing an impact build. The only real unique build I can see from this weapon's unique trait is the puncture build with melee Dottie. But I don't think that's enough to set it apart and put it in a higher tier. So I'm just going to put it in C tier because it's really just average to me. But hey, if you want to wield around a giant pizza cutter and treat every enemy as a pizza that needs cutting, then be my guest. And here's the tier list for the week 1 Coda Weapons. Let me know what you think about the Coda Weapons this week. If you agree or disagree with this list, put it down in the comments. Like I said earlier, if the rest of the Coda Weapons are released next week, I'll do a follow-up video and have the full tier list with all 14 weapons in that video. Make sure you hit the likes if you enjoyed the video, hit the subscribes, you know the deal, and I will see you in the next one.